get this resolved or not, but she's working on it.
Victor, I think she's joined just as an attendee and not as a panelist because she was typing in that chat box earlier.
Gotcha. All right, so
Should we get this resolved? She's working on it.
So we can go ahead, we could probably go ahead and get started because you didn't have to vote for a
Victor, I
while.
think she's joined.
sorry. It's in YouTube, it's live. Yeah, we're going.
Right, she just sent another message saying she couldn't join as a panelist.
Okay. Sort that out.
So she can check if you go on a vote.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the July 14th, 2020 regular school board meeting. Roll call.
Tony Beardsley.
Wait a minute, hold on, Tony, sorry. Let me do this appropriately. Let me go ahead and welcome all the new board members, Jeff Honeycutt, Adrian Jackson, Nate Fries, and Leslie Post when she gets on. And the current board.
There she is. Isn't that Leslie?
Yeah.
There she is.
So
Hey,
welcome,
Leslie.
She's connecting to the audio.
Hi, thank you.
we just welcome the new board members, and the current board members are Dr. Carrie Riley, Tony Beardsley, and myself, Howard Alstor. Now we'll go ahead and establish quorum. Howard Alstor,
Tony Beardsley.
Kara Riley. Y'all got to unmute yourself.
Nate Fries.
Adrian Jackson.
Jeff Honeycutt.
Leslie Post.
good deal. Welcome to the new board members.
Thank you.
Somebody needs to mute.
This works a lot better with headphones, guys, if you've got headphones.
All right, well, Mary, are we skipping the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, we can,
Skip it.
yeah.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the election of officers for the new school year, which starts this month. There are 3 or 4 positions: president, vice president, and secretary.
And treasurer.
They're one position, secretary.
So secretary treasurer is one position.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The way this works is there are board members that are nominated for the different positions. And then we vote on whoever is brought up as a candidate for the different positions. I will go ahead and open up the floor for recommendations on president.
I recommend Tony. How about Tony?
Okay, Tony Beardsley.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jeff Honeycutt. I think it's important that we have someone as president that has children at the school.
I'm sorry, Leslie, what did that mean?
I'd like to nominate Jeff Honeycutt.
Okay, I didn't understand the comment.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm echoing a little bit. What I said is I just think it's important that if it's possible to have someone represent us as our board leadership, that they have children at the school. And Jeff has children at both campuses, so I'd like to nominate him.
Okay, just so we understand everything, our policies and procedures do not indicate that somebody has to have an active student in the school.
Absolutely not. I understand.
Okay. So I've got Tony Beardsley and Jeff Honeycutt. Any other recommendations? All right. Normally we go into a session where we ask the candidates to leave the room, but since that's not possible at this
So,
time,
Howard, what I would like to say is I can turn off my speakers, my sound, so you can discuss and then just wave at us when you're done. That way we won't hear comments.
okay.
I can do the same, Tony.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right.
As of now, I'm turning off my speaker.
Jeff and Tony, if you go ahead and turn your speakers off and your mic, and don't read lips. We will begin. All right. First candidate is Tony Beardsley. Anybody have any comments?
I just nominated Tony because you kind of have to have a grasp of the procedures, and he's been here. He knows how to run the show. That's it.
Okay.
He's been doing it a long time. He will be organized and keep things going the right direction.
I would agree with that. I think it's probably going to be important, especially with COVID and everything going on right now, that we have somebody who's experienced with all the procedures and with so many new board members. So I think I'd like to see an experienced board member as the president.
I agree with that.
So my only comment, and Jeff, I'm not saying that you're not capable or qualified at this point in time, but being a charter school, and as long as we've been in existence and the problems that we've had, it would be beneficial. Well, he just can't even hear me. I'll just say it'd be beneficial if he got some experience under his belt, operating within the charter environment and understanding the policies and procedures, and all the regulations that go around that. So that would be my only comment there as well. All right. Any other comments? All right, we'll ask them to come back in. Well, now, do I vote first or?
Oh, I thought we were gonna,
Okay,
I thought we were gonna comment on Jeff as well.
Oh yeah, Tony and Jeff, I need you to go radio silent again. Sorry.
I don't think Jeff's on to turn it on.
Tony's still up. Tony needs to be turned off.
My only comment is I certainly appreciate everyone and think anyone on this board would do a great job. I nominated Jeff because he has experience running a large organization. He has a lot of experience with boards, and he has children on both campus. I think he would serve us well, in addition with his medical background and what our current environment is. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
You bet.
All right, with that said, those in favor of Tony Beardsley, just raise your hand. 1, 2, 3.
are we back?
Nope.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so 4 for Tony. And those that are voting for Jeff. All right. So the majority votes for Tony Beardsley at this point.
Are we coming back in the room?
Yes,
All right.
sorry. New procedure.
Hey, we're figuring it out as we go.
Okay, so and both Tony and Jeff were nominated. Tony Beardsley has the vote at this point.
All
Tony,
right, thank
welcome
you.
as the president.
Congrats, Tony.
Thank you.
On to vice president. We'll have nominations for vice president.
I'll nominate Howard.
That's going to be awkward. All right, so
I'll
Howard-
nominate painfully for Jeff. I'm going to nominate Jeff again.
Okay. Any other nominations? Tony, as a new president, I'm going to
All right.
put myself on mute
All right.
and turn my speakers off.
All right.
I'll do the
I
same.
will do a double wave like this when we're ready.
All right.
All right.
All All right, any discussion on the candidates? I'll just let anybody that wants to speak up. The only reason I named it Howard was to make sure we had a candidate nominated. Howard does have experience, but I know, of course, it's up to the board to decide who should be vice president. So with that said, I will open it up to discussion.
So based on the previous session here, it was discussed that Jeff had plenty of experience, and Leslie had a desire to have somebody with children on the either as a president. So I think it would be a good fit to learn. Woo! To have Jeff learn if the desire is to have him as a president in a future state. I think that I would vote for Jeff to give him that experience and that leadership role that Leslie was mentioning.
Anybody else have any discussion as far as the candidates go? No? All right, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor of Howard, raise your hand. One hand so I can see. All right, looks like we got one vote. All those for Jeff, oh, 2 votes. All those for Jeff, raise their hand. 1, 2. Am I missing somebody? I guess that's it. So it's a tie.
Did you vote?
Oh, I didn't vote. Okay, I'll vote for Jeff. Thank you. I'll vote for Jeff because we would go ahead and like to get that experience in there. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was doing. So we'll give it to Jeff with 3 votes. And I guess we'll call everybody back in. Then we're going to vote for Secretary Treasurer. So come back in, guys.
Back.
I would like to congratulate Mr.
So
Jeff.
you know that the secretary doesn't really have to take notes, Debbie does.
Yeah.
So the
Anyway,
main thing about the treasurer is they're on our checking account.
Yeah. So Jeff, I would like to congratulate you. You are now the vice president.
That's needed.
And that means that you will back me up when I'm unable to attend. You will be leading the meetings. In instances where maybe I can't be there to sign paperwork or something like that, it would fall to you. So you'll just be kind of my sidekick for a little while, and hopefully you will be president before too long. So,
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
yeah. So now we need a vote for Secretary Treasurer. And as Mary said, that is not the note taker. We have somebody that does that. The Secretary Treasurer really keeps track of signing checks as needed, like the payroll checks, that kind of thing. Just keeps the books in a certain way as far as the board is concerned. Not actually keeping the books, that's not a good term. But they are.
Actually, all they really do is their names on the checks at the payroll checks. And it's automatically, the bank is automatically.
Sign checks as needed. So with that, I will accept nominations for Secretary Treasurer. Do we have any nominations? Is there anybody that would like to volunteer to be Secretary Treasurer?
I was going to say, if no one had a nomination, I'll gladly put my name in for that one if necessary.
Okay, well, I think it's a good idea to get these new board members some experience in being officers, so that's great. So if we don't have anyone else that either is stepping up or we want to nominate, right now we have Nate. Anybody else? Well, it looks like, Nate, you are now the Secretary Treasurer. Congratulations.
Congrats, Nate.
And Nate, we will call you. You will actually have to go to Arvis Bank to show your ID and things. So
To add you to the account.
add you to the count. You'll actually be on the counts.
Okay.
Okay. All right. With that said, we now move on through the agenda. Congratulations to everybody. Welcome new board members. We will now move on to comments from the public. And from my understanding, we have 3 people that asked to comment. I've got their names here. Hopefully they will be able to speak. So with first, I'm going to start with James Martinez. Is he?
I don't think he is online.
No, it's not.
Okay, I didn't see him. What about Aaron?
He's here. I've just allowed him to talk.
Okay. Aaron, we're going to unmute you here in a second. With comments from the public, we have a policy of everybody that speaks gets 3 minutes. So I will start the timer here when you get ready to speak. Also, I want you to know that as a board, we do not reply to things that are said during the comment section. We may later on as a board discuss it or whatever. I just want you to know we are listening, but we can't respond at this point to the public comments. That's just policy set by the State School Board Association. So Aaron, if you would, I am going to get my timer started and
Should unmute, but he's not unmuted yet.
Can you unmute him?
I can't do it. He has to do it himself.
there we go. Aaron, can you
Unmute
hear
it
me?
now.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I have a son that is going to be a first grader on the elementary school campus. And first and foremost, I want to say I don't envy, the administrators and the teachers. I know that you guys are in an absolutely impossible place. COVID has changed everyone's lives, I think, forever, and how we react as parents and how we react as, employees and whatnot. But I just ask that everyone, there's been so many heated comments and heated discussions on social media and, just the media in general. And some things feel like they've turned more political than they have in the best interest of just human beings in general. So I really just ask for everyone to keep an open mind and understand that there is no right answer and there is no right choice right now. However, there's a lot of things at stake when it comes to people's health, when it comes to their well-being. I know for me, I am an essential employee as well as my son's stepfather and my son's father. So being that we are essential employees, there is no childcare option other than trying to help aid our kids in school. We have 4 boys. 2 are under the age of 10. 1 is very much special needs for behavioral and learning disability reasons, and the other would be okay doing virtual school. However, the AMI experience was very challenging. It was very hard for the students. I think it was hard for the teachers. There wasn't as much interaction. However, I understand that the teachers didn't have much time to plan for that at all. So, I'd like to keep it short and sweet and just say, please keep an open mind, but please understand that parents don't want to just send their kids to school because we think educators are babysitters. I don't think that's the case. Some of us truly can't provide the education that our kids deserve at home, even through virtual means and through, support of staff. And it would, it's a risk. It's not a good feeling. I've lost a lot of sleep saying that I want to send my son to school full time again. However, I also want to have a roof over our head. So, just keep an open mind and please understand that I think everyone appreciates the communications we've had thus far. It has been as transparent as possible. We know that you're working hard. Just really looking for solutions to keep everyone as safe as possible. And again, asking everyone to keep an open mind and be supportive of our Arkansas Arts Academy family, because this is not an easy situation and there is no handbook. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Really appreciate you coming and speaking to us today. So is it Christina? Is that who we also had, I believe?
We don't see her on the list of attendees either.
Okay. So with that, if there's not anybody else that wants to speak, let's go ahead and move forward on the agenda. So next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Now, to the new board members, you were sent a packet on Friday, and hopefully you've had a chance to review that. That would be the enrollment report, the meetings from the last board meeting, as well as the June financials. Normally what we do is everybody previews those, reads them beforehand to have a good understanding. And if we have any questions, we talk about that in the board meeting. If there are no questions, then we just move forward with the approval, the vote approval. So with that said, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review. If you haven't, please let me know. Okay, so if everybody's had a chance, oh, Howard, yes. You're on mute.
My only comment is the budget in the system right now for this school year?
She's working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
So,
next month.
okay, so we really won't have a good, we won't have good visibility into this school year until next month.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
way it usually goes, I believe.
But you'll receive it way before the board meeting, but it's drafted out now. They have some things to fix.
Okay.
Speaking about the budget, I just had a couple of questions if this is the right time to do
Yeah,
that.
this is when you ask. Yes.
Okay.
Jeff.
I'm looking at, and I had a chance to review this a couple of days ago, but looking at the line item for grants under beginning balance revenue, showing an annual budget of 260,500, but nothing on the actual. Is there any explanation for why there's such a big difference there?
I didn't understand the question.
He's saying that there's 260,000 budgeted for grants,
And zero received.
no deductions. There hasn't been any deductions.
I don't get it yet. No.
There have been-
Hey, Mary, in the annual
Oh.
budget,
Well, some of that you can't spend yet, like some of those grants are even federal dollars and they have to be spent at a certain time. And another reason we might have money that hasn't been spent is some of those were given to us to do things second semester, and because of COVID, we didn't get to do them. So they're still there.
So maybe I'm reading this incorrectly. It looks, I was reading it as the budgeted revenue was 260,000, but the actual revenue was zero. Maybe I'm misreading that. And these columns, so the first column you're saying is the budgeted that's come in, but the second column would be how much of those funds have been spent?
Which line item was it?
This is under grants.
Under grants. Let's see if I can find it.
So yeah, first sheet I'm looking at just says grants annual budget 260,500 actual through June 30th of zero.
Well, I haven't written any grants this month, so.
No, Mary, I think what he's asking is that on the budget for last year, we had $260,000 budgeted that we would receive $260,000.
Right.
Now, and he's saying he's not seeing where everything was spent, but if we're looking at, because that's the June fiscal, right? So there should have been something to balance out that 260 is what he's saying.
Right. Well, so some of that went, most grants, because they had to be spent. So some of we had grants that paid for bus drivers. We had grants that paid for nurses. We had grants that paid for supplies. In fact, the other day we had gave teachers till noon to spend some money that we even had extra money we found. But I think all the grants have been spent from last year.
So this, I guess where I'm getting confused is the first category is titled beginning balance revenue. So I'm assuming that would be incoming money, and versus expenditures, which would be down below. What it looks like is that there'd be a budgeted $260,000 of incoming grant revenue, but none has been received. That's what it looks like.
Well, it probably hasn't been because we don't receive the federal grants. We won't receive right away, but they know.
What he's saying is this is for last year, basically for 2019-20, we had a budget of 260,000 is what we budgeted, but we have not received any.
Okay, so
Bonnie just has not.
Bonnie just hasn't put it in there. Most of that was the Walton family budget, and it's been spent, but she did not have put the details of it in.
okay, so Mary, if we can get Terry to get with APSRC
Yeah, sure.
and figure out what this budgeted line item is for and why we don't show
Yeah, we
anything.
have it. I don't know why it's not showing.
Okay. And
We
I just,
worked hard on that the last 3 weeks to make sure it got spent before I left.
and I just had one other question on same thing, beginning revenue balance, looking at the other local sources. It shows a $0 budgeted, but actual income of almost 400,000, 395,889. Just curious, what is other local sources, just for my own?
Well, we get one thing that's budgeted that will get quarterly. That's about that much money. I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. But we get this year, the state, you never know because they change it year to year, but this year they budget $7.5 million for facilities for charter schools. And we just got the notice on that, which was about that much money of how much we will get of that. Because each child gets like, this year it was like 535 per student. We have 1,200 students. So that's how much we got.
That'd be like 600,000, I believe, but.
And then we get we also get 7,000 per student. Then we also get money.
What I think, Mary, what he's asking is, we had other sources. What are those other sources? Is that right, Jen?
Well, I'll just have to, nobody's ever asked me, so
All right.
here's the first time anybody's ever put me on the thing here. So we have it all. We've just never been asked, but I'll get it for you. How's that?
Okay. It's really just for my own education. So I'm assuming
Sure.
we're looking at these on a somewhat regular basis. I just want to be able to understand.
We do. And we get lots of funding streams. We get almost 7,000 per student. So, you know, from the state, we get facility money for charter schools, which is about 500 per student. Is a little more than that. We get money from a Medicaid. We get money for a thing called Airmark. We get money from student free and reduced lunches. So, and then we get grant money. We get Title I money. We get
so other local sources, Mary. If I understand from what I've seen in the past, the other local money is people that have given us money, be organizations, local organizations that have given us money. Is that correct?
Right. I have raised about I think 15 million in the last 6 years, something like that.
And then that's
So it just there's all kind of streams, but I will get it for you so you understand it. Okay. Sure. I'm glad you want to know.
So are there any other questions around the finances or the enrollment report? We're looking pretty good. It looks like on the enrollment, if everything follows through as we hope it will. Because we really need to keep those students to get the dollars in to pay the bills.
So
Not from last month.
What's that?
The anticipated enrollment.
All right. Well,
I just had one comment here, and it goes back to the public comment. Right now, the only thing we have from the state as far as being able to start school this school year is a start date. They still are working through all of the guidelines for how we are going to run our schools. And until we get that information, there's not much that we can communicate back out to the parents.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that here because our enrollment is going to be extremely important to us. And we really need to understand pretty quickly what the state's going to do and how we're going to react to that.
Right.
So are we going to discuss that at some point? Because I kind of want to.
Yeah, we will. I don't see it on the, I know that I believe in the principal reports, they're going to talk about that to a certain extent.
Right.
We can do discussion there. We can also do it as a discussion items in publication. So there's a couple of areas we can.
Okay.
Well, when it talks about new schedule too, we can talk.
Okay.
Because it all goes together with that schedule.
Any other discussion around the enrollment reports or the financials?
Well, one thing I want to tell the new board members is that our money is managed by Arkansas School Public Resource Center. That's called APSRC. And they're kind of funded to help manage charter schools because a good financial person runs about $150,000 a year and we don't have that kind of funding. So we pay them to fund us about $35,000 a year. And they have 3 great financial people and they work with us all day, every day. And they are directly in Little Rock and go to all the legislation meetings. And they also give us attorneys to represent us. So we communicate with them all day, but we have great financial people. And they're through that organization called APSRC. If you ever want to look it up, that's what you can put, APSRC in Google. And that's who is a lot of our governing body of legislation and funding.
And we also use them for legal advice.
Right.
They have lawyers on board that understand the state laws around education and how that affects charter schools. So we also
lobby on our behalf.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments?
Books from last year, that might not completely.
Any other comments on the financials of the enrollment report, the consent agenda? Okay, with that, no further discussion. So I will call for a Vote. So I need my mind is going blank here.
Motion.
Motion. Thank you. That word did not get there. I would like to ask for a motion to accept the current agenda, my mind is not consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the current consent agenda.
Second.
And that's why you're president, because you know those words.
My mind is not working, I tell you. Being on vacation, my mind hasn't come back yet. It's still on vacation.
The pressure.
So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. All right, so now we're going to move on to new business. For those of you that are new, we always are, most of the time we start off with the principal reports, and usually we have Heather and Matt wrestle to see who's going to go first. Since we can't do that, where it's just, it looks like Matt is really raring to go. So we'll just go with Mr. Young on this one. Matt, you want to start?
That I was trying not to get that. So first of all, a few updates. Want to thank Vic and Joan for their work they've done with the technology. We've been doing a lot of work getting technology ready for the school year because we thought we were starting August 5th. So we were in August 5th mode, and want to thank them for everything they've done. And then our nurse, Katie Mulligan, she's our district nurse, even though she's housed at our campus, and Maribel Morgan at the 712 campus have done amazing research and talking to the state and helping us order the right gear and the right things to keep our kids safe, to keep our teachers safe. So we're thankful for the work they've done. The mountain biking team has actually started too, and that's actually led by two of our parents, Dan and Teresa Blocker. And that program's for 6th through 12th graders. So we definitely want to support them. There's over 23 students right now engaged in social distance, being responsible mountain biking. So they're following guidelines that they have for that. But it's awesome when we see parents volunteering to help run that program. And today we also had the Catapult Health Screening, which is part of our staff's benefits package, and gives us a nice discount if you come in and take care of that. And they were great to work with, and want to thank Terry Harrell for getting that set up for us all. And then the leadership team at our campus and at the 712 campus, want to brag on them too, have really been working to come up with a plan for when we get back to school, and the different ways we're going to be getting back to school to keep kids safe, to make parents feel comfortable, to teachers feel safe, and teachers feel comfortable. So, some of those plans change all the time. The other day when the governor changed the day to school on us, Miss Ride and I were quickly on a phone call with each other, trying to figure out, does it affect us? Does it not affect us? And then calling the state. So, we're all learning how to be extremely flexible during this time, as we as a state are learning how to deal with it, and as a nation, as a world. So we do want to thank our parents out there for just supporting us during this time, and just know we are trying our best. There is no right answer, and there is no perfect answer. So the plans that we'll be discussing tonight for both the K6 and the 712 were built with our families in mind, and we hope we've hit that, and we hope we've responded to our parents and our kids in the right way. Also wanted to brag that we also had a dance camp going on this week. Even though we know we've got COVID going on, the state has allowed us to have some camps at school following certain guidelines. So Miss Finley has done a great job getting a nice group of young people coming up to school and dancing. And I must admit, it's good for me to see kids in the hallway, and to see kids performing. I never had seen dancing performed on a playground before, or not choreographed dancing other than like dancing I was doing. But it was amazing to see those young people out there performing, and really kind of opens our eyes to all the possibilities we'll have when school does open, about utilizing different spaces. and we are, as far as enrollment, we are full for next year. And the good news is we're still getting enrollment forms. Because as people look around at what school districts are offering, a lot of people like that we're offering multiple options. We're both campuses are offering 3 options, and that we are a smaller community. One of the biggest values of our charter is smaller class size, relationships. So I think that has been, I've not seen a decrease in our enrollment at this time. But I have seen probably an uptick for this time of year, especially when they call and we tell them, hey, you're going to be on a wait list. And, they're like, it's okay. I just want to put my name in just in case. So I think that's a great sign. And finally, I did want to thank you all for allowing me to participate in the superintendent interview process. We'll get updates on that later tonight, but it was a great thing for me to get to try for and see what happens there. President Beardsley, do you want us to tell our options at this time?
I tell you what, let's let Heather go ahead and speak, then we'll come back and I'll let you do that, Matt.
All right, thank you.
Heather, you ready?
I am. I don't have much to add. We've been focused on getting preliminary schedules finished, which is pretty much done, except for new students who are still enrolling. Schedule change request forms were sent out through email, and they'll also be posted on the website this afternoon. We're not going to start processing those schedule change request forms until probably the end of next week. Because of the calendar shift, my counselors who helped me do that are not going to be back as early as they were if we were starting August 5th. So just expect those schedule changes to get pushed out a little bit. I do still have 2 open positions on the high school campus. I have a study hall and instructional aid position open. And then Mr. Roberts resigned this past week. And so I have a special education position open as well. So there are still 2 outstanding jobs on my campus. And then Rachel and I are planning to keep everyone on campus as safe as possible. And I'll go into details about our plan. Do you want me to do that now? Or?
Yeah, go ahead, then we'll come back to Matt and talk about schedule.
Okay. So we have 3 basic options for the high school campus. There is a full-time at school. You're there every day from 8 to 3 or 8 to 8:30 to 3:50. There is a all virtual option where people are at home all the time and engaging with their teachers and their assignments in a virtual environment. And then there's a blended option where a person can choose to be on campus 2 days a week and virtual the other 3. There is a 4th option that I am not going to try to manage, but if a parent wants to arrange with a teacher to come in for a specific class, so if you want to be all virtual, but you want to be on campus for dance, then that parent and teacher are welcome to get together to figure that out. So I'm not saying no to that. I'm just saying that I'm not going to organize it. With the students who are on campus every day, Wednesday is an all-day virtual day. So they will be in a desk on campus, but they won't be interacting in person with their teachers. And that's to allow the teachers time to do both the virtual and the in-person learning. And then because we have widespread community spread of COVID-19 right now, we're trying to limit students in the hallways. So in a normal year, everyone would go to a class, the bell would ring and you would switch classes all at the same time. That's a lot of students, and even with masks, teenagers like to congregate, they like to see each other, hug and talk and do all those things. So what we're going to do for students who are on campus instead, we will have desks that are 6 feet apart in all directions in the Performing Arts Center, the Commons, and the library. So our 3 largest commons areas, and they'll have a seat assigned to them. And then teachers will come get small groups of students, 5 to 10 for 40 minutes at a time, and do direct instruction with small groups, and then take them back and take another small group. And that's to limit the number of students who are in classrooms and also the number of students who are in hallways unsupervised at a time.
Okay, so I have one question on the kids that are doing all virtual. You said on Wednesdays, they'll do a virtual in class, meaning.
Well, we are getting, so that day is for teachers to like load virtual assignments, grade virtual assignments, have time to manage all of that. Because we don't have enough staff and have enough dollars to have a completely separate staff, virtual staff versus in-person staff. So I'm giving them that day, and that means they'll have digital assignments and digital lectures and things like that to watch. Their teachers will be available for questions. And I'm flexible. If a teacher wants to pull kids during that day, that's up to them, but I'm giving them that day to handle their workload.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that a student's going to be sitting in their desk the entire day. One of the things that I'm asking the PE teacher to do is have 30-minute sessions that they can sign up for to go outside and walk around and move. I've already planned to do fun things on Wednesdays, like random dance parties, like get out of your seat and move around your chair while we dance to fun music for a little bit, and having art spotlights and things like that on Wednesdays. But primarily it will be a virtual learning day. You're engaging with your computer and not with a teacher on Wednesdays.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for Ms. Wright?
This is Leslie. I have a quick question. And Heather, you may have explained it, Ms. Wright. I apologize. So if a parent chooses the combo option on the days, or they choose all virtual, on the days that their child is in virtual, will that be similar to like what we did this last semester, where they're getting assignments and interacting kind of more on an as needed basis with their teacher? Or will they be participating in the classroom with their peers that are at the school?
So
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So it's going to be much more structured than last year. Victor and I are looking at tripods for every teacher, so they can video their classes live and the classes that are going on in person. So students who are not there can still benefit from hearing the class discussion and seeing the teacher in front of their classroom board. And those are things that Victor and I have talked about, like, do we have enough bandwidth on campus to do that? And things like that. And they'll be recorded as well so that they can be posted later for anyone who has to be asynchronous. But we're really encouraging students who do virtual this year to try to participate during the class period time that it's scheduled. So that's going to give them more structure at home, and they know exactly when their teacher is available and when they're going to be ready to answer questions about that class.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question along those lines, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a way to take attendance for the virtual kids?
So attendance this year for everyone, even if they're sitting in the building, is based on active engagement with their teachers. So were they in the Zoom session, like their faces visible, engaging in the lecture online? Were they sitting in the class, engaging in the class in person? Did they complete a daily assignment? Did they show significant work on an extended project? Things like that. So attendance becomes more about engagement rather than your butt was in the seat.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Heather, for
Yes.
the arts related classes like pottery and drawing and all the other things that we do, how are we going to do that virtually?
What virtual students who have those classes do will be very different than what the kids do in person, just because that's the nature of the art. No way to give a kid a wheel, a potter's wheel at home. We did send Clay home with students this spring to do some like YouTube video, working with your teacher. He's talking you through it while you're watching a YouTube tutorial, to do some hand building and things like that. And so those are the kinds of things that we're looking at as a staff, as the arts teachers, like how can we modify so that they still get some of the skills, knowing that it won't exactly replicate what is happening in the arts classrooms.
Will the kids that do the part-time option get to specifically work on their arts electives during their 2 days they're present?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Ms. Wright, do you see us being able to have culinary?
Virtually or in person?
In person.
Yes. Chef G has already thought about all of the things that need to go on in her classroom in order to keep everyone safe. So that she has enough equipment so that they all have their own things. They don't have to share. No one would be sharing food. They would all make their own individual dish, and be eating 6 feet apart when it got time for that, and be wearing a mask otherwise.
Okay, well, that child had, so. Perfect.
I have some thoughts and comments about our mask wearing situation, if it's time for that discussion. Is it time? Is it time for that?
Sure, go ahead, Dr. Riley.
Okay, so I really feel quite strongly that the kids should be wearing masks at all times unless they are eating or outside. And the thing that we got as parents said if they were sitting in their assigned spot, they were going to be able to take off their mask. And I have basically 2 reasons I disagree with that. There is ample evidence that droplet spread can go past 6 feet. I also think that allowing them to take it on and off during the day is going to create a lot more work for the teachers, because they're going to forget to put it back on. They're going to go to the bathroom without it. They're going to, go to their small group sessions and forget it and have to go back. They're going to be walking past the other kids' desks without their masks. And, especially since the city of Rogers has now passed a mask ordinance, and that's where our schools are, we've got 5 weeks to acclimate our kids to wearing a mask. And I realize there will probably be maybe some of the special needs kids that will struggle with that. And those may need to be handled on a case-by-case basis. But I think for the average neurotypical child, it is not too much to ask, particularly those that are over the age of 10, because there's also ample evidence that children under the age of 10 have less severe cases and spread. There's not a lot of evidence. There are small studies coming out of Europe and China that children under the age of 10 are less affected, and we don't know why. But at least at the high school campus, at least for the neurotypical children, I think it is appropriate to wear a mask at all times that you are indoors unless you are eating. And I also worry a great deal about all of our teachers, particularly any of those that are over 40 or, have underlying health conditions. So I don't think that's too much to ask. Other countries are doing it. And I think it will actually make our teachers' jobs a lot easier if we make that policy that if you're not eating and you're inside, you have to wear your mask. So
I agree.
That's what
think other school districts are starting to do the same around the country, starting to require that. So I think it's something we need to give serious consideration about whether or not we make that a policy or not.
Yeah.
Because I think it's something to really think about. All of us really need to think about the safety of the students, the safety of our teachers, the safety of everybody involved.
It's much less likely that we'll lose students, but it's much more likely that we'll lose teachers, administrative staff, parents, grandparents, and the other thing that I have not seen is what our policy is going to be when someone does get sick, because someone is going to get sick.
Yes, and I thought we could talk about that just a little bit later.
Okay, that's fine.
I have questions about that too, Dr. Riley, about what we're going to do when certain things happen.
Okay.
Was there anything else you wanted to say, Ms. Wright?
I'm happy to do that, Dr. Riley, and change the policy that they have to have masks on at all times when indoors, unless.
Yeah.
we'll discuss that here in a minute and kind of get everybody's input and see how everybody feels. I know we all have probably different feelings on that, but maybe we can work something out. So with that, Mr. Young, you moved on my screen. So what would you like to have to say about scheduling at the K6 campus?
Well, we are a little different world than Miss Wright's world, but we still have the same goals in mind. You know, we want to keep our kids safe and keep our staff safe. So we will also be offering 3 options for our families and students. The first option will be on campus every day. So that way kids that need that support and can, in a health reasons, can come. And for, like we had someone speak tonight about where their parents work, need to come every day, that option will be open. We also have an online learning option. And like Ms. Wright said, it will be much different than what we had in after spring break this year, because after spring break this year, it was just thrown at us and we were all trying to figure out what to do. And this year, the state has actually stepped up and providing us a model called the Lincoln Learning Management System. And it provides the tools. We can always add to it, but it at least provides us a good foundation to make sure students are receiving all the standards being taught to them and in a good comprehensive way. And then our final model that we're going to be offering is a blended model. And this is really open-ended blended, just because at the elementary school ages, families need all kinds of different things. Kids need different things. You know, we have some of our families that go to our high school might need to do just Monday and Tuesday or just these days. And basically on the survey, they're going to be able to kind of type up what they need. So that way we can work with them to make that happen as much as we can.
Sounds good. Any questions for Mr. Young?
I have a question, but I think it may be more or for both Mr. Young and Ms. Wright. With the option, the last option you mentioned, it brings me to question high school in our blended option. Will it be possible if a family would like to, since on Wednesdays we're doing virtual only, could they keep their child home that day? Is that just something they would need to request individually? Is it even an option? I know a lot of families have children, maybe an issue for people.
So Leslie, I think that you wanted to know if on Wednesdays, like if you choose the everyday in person, but Wednesdays are days where they're going to be getting virtual instruction, can you keep a kid home on Wednesday? Is that what your question was?
Correct.
Yes, you can. Again, attendance is based on did they actively engage in the things that their teachers posted for them that day. So that is a possibility.
And if that's what someone chose for their 7th through 12th grader, they can just put that down as what they would like for their kindergarten through 6th grader. And we will make that work on our campus also.
Great.
Thank you.
I want to thank both of the principals. Sounds like you put a lot of work into this. Really appreciate it. I know you haven't got a lot of guidance from the state. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more as we get closer to that start date. I know there's supposed to be some meetings, I think, later this week, right, Mary, to help hopefully answer some of the questions that we have.
I also want to say the assistant principals have really worked hard.
Yeah, I didn't mean to diss the assistant principals. Forgive me for that. It was not a diss.
I know, I just wanted to tell you, you know.
Well, David's looking at me and I just want to make sure that. All right. Appreciate everybody on that. So let's go ahead and move forward. The next thing on the agenda, and we're going to come back to this here in a little bit and get a little bit more in depth. But let's go ahead and talk about the student handbooks for both the high school, middle school, and elementary.
Well, I just want to say it kind of goes with the policy updates. We have cleaned all of our policies up. And the only thing that we need to add to them is the the information about discipline and the policies that are in those handbooks. And we've tried before to have one handbook because, you know, we have parents have kids in both schools and sometimes that made it easier. But then we found out that sometimes it made misunderstanding. Like they would read the high school policy and have a young person at the K-6 and say, well, that happened or that happened. So we felt like we really had to tailor it. So the principals again have worked hard to come up with these, and then I'm combining these two together because as soon as you approve, which you were sent the links to, then they're going to go with our policy updates. And then I'm going to send you a new link by the end of this week so that all the new board members have all the right and current policies. And then we're going to take all policies that are everywhere on the website and have one fresh new updated policy thing with, and I want to include the handbooks in that.
Sounds good. Is there any questions? Hopefully everybody had a chance to at least scan through the handbooks. I did that this afternoon. I didn't see anything glaring to me that looked like I didn't agree with. You know, I really rely on Mr. Young and Ms. Wright to have that. It looks good to me. Did anybody have any concerns, questions about the handbook?
I just had a question about the head lice policy, and I don't know much about the state and what other school districts are doing, but I believe and I was looking to just trying to fit the nits. If there's a nit found with no live head lice, that's not a cause for concern or a student removal or sent home for the day. Is that correct? Is that similar to what other school divisions are doing as well?
That is correct. And that's what the other big four districts are doing. Because there was a point where kids were getting sent home so often with nits, not particularly here, but in other districts. And so the guidance we got was to change it to the live.
Okay.
But our nurses are really good on that. I mean, they know if it's kind of in between or beyond, but they really give the directions to the parents of what to do to make sure that child goes the next day with the treatment they need.
Yeah.
So go further.
Yeah, I will say just from personal experience, the school does a really good job notifying parents of lice in the room. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. As someone with 5 children in the school, that's very helpful, but I just had a question on that. So I appreciate that. That's all. The only question I had, just clarification on that to make sure we were consistent across the other divisions. So thank you.
I appreciate that question. So I'm going to skip calendar. We'll come right back to that. So policy updates. Mary, any other discussion on that we should know about?
Well, we beefed up the bullying.
Which we had talked about previously. Yes.
Yeah. And then, and then that one thing you just said, you want to skip that entirely because that has changed because the one thing on the calendar that had to do with the old calendar when we wanted to talk about intercession. So if you'll see later, we have another calendar thing when the updates will be on that. So when you talk about calendar, go to the next.
Okay. So as far as the policy goes, it's what we've discussed in the past.
You've already approved all the policies. I just cleaned them up, and but you have to approve the handbook so I can add to it.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure that I had a full understanding of what we were doing around the policy updates.
Yes, please approve the handbook, so I can't add.
So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the handbooks for both the high school, middle school, and the elementary.
Tony, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I had a question about the behavior flow chart for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I did look through all the bullying, as you guys know, former board members, Mary, Miss Wright,
yes.
And in the flow chart, unless I'm reading something wrong, I only see one reference to, it's called ethnic or racial slurs. Now in your bullying, you maybe have one statement about that specifically. And I just want to point out, just as, a Black student at the school and all the issues that we've had, and it's happening in all the schools with all my kids. I just think I really want to make sure that is fleshed out and really thoughtful. Because I know when I came to that board meeting, earlier a few months back, that there really wasn't a policy about that. And so I would like to really focus and hone in on that.
Okay. Sure. So here's what I would like to propose is that we accept the policy the way it is for now, with additions going to be made around bullying, and maybe we get you involved to help us word that out right, and then we can make corrections to that. I hate to just hold up the whole handbook for that, when I think that's something we can correct in the next month or so, and send out a update to the handbook. Is that acceptable, you think?
Yeah, that's acceptable for me. And I'm just sort of wondering what the other school districts have specifically.
Right.
I just sort of want to dig into that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I want to hit it hard too.
Send you some links, some information she sent us shortly after that discussion back in February or January, whatever that was, with some links to like Little Rock School District, some of the area school districts on what they
Chicago, even the big ones.
Even out of state. So we kind of took that, and that's what we used to form what we've got. But if we feel like we need to flesh that out more, I think that's great. So
well, and another thing we were going to add to it, we paid the chamber here to put on a professional development for the administrators to learn to do better job with this, and then the COVID thing. Put that on hold. So
was that the Racial Equity Institute? Sorry. That was the Racial Equity Institute.
The Rogers Chamber.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, as we had that all planned out, the world changed on us.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So we're not done.
Figure that out. So with that said, if everybody's okay, we'll have to go ahead and accept what we've got so we can move that forward, with knowing that we are probably going to be making changes to the bullying section, the wording, to make sure we're covering all types of bullying, not just, a couple different ones. We want to make sure we've got that.
Everybody.
Yep. So with that, I will entertain a motion to accept as is the current handbook for high school, middle school, and elementary.
Make a motion to accept the policy as written, with the understanding that we're going to come back quickly and update more around the ethic and racial slurs.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. So we'll accept them with known changes coming in the immediate future. All right, progress on next year's schedule, calendar, what's going on there, guys?
Does Rachel or Heather want to talk? Is there a way Rachel can talk? She's really worked hard on it. Rachel, why don't you talk?
Hi, everyone. So the calendar, as in like the events calendar, or the calendar as
the whole calendar that you and Heather and Matt and we talked about the other day, and then you guys I think have worked on it further.
Yes, so Heather and
just because of August. Yeah.
Yes, Heather and I were working on it, and most of these were her idea. I just like putting things in charts and color coding everything. So our new calendar has us starting on the 24th of August, so that scoots us down some. And we were discussing about taking a week off of our October break and a week off of our spring break. Both of those were recently scheduled as 2 weeks at a time. And that week that we made into learning, it would be virtual learning for everyone. This would give our campus time to be deep cleaned and get kind of reassess, especially in that October, when we are going to be able to, what we're going to be able to do for the second quarter. So I can send you, did that get shared, our draft on that? I don't believe it did. I can send that.
And those are just preliminary.
Are you ready for her to send it?
Well, I think that David and Matt and Rachel and I are all going to talk about it further tomorrow, because those were our preliminary thoughts, and then look at what that means for everyone. Like we haven't had time to discuss it.
Sure.
Well, also we have a town meeting still tomorrow night.
Yes.
5 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've had, how many did you say, 78 parents have joined? So I think we want to wait till their input too, and then you guys, by the end of the week, you'll have it ready to be sent out to look at, right?
Right. And for any teachers listening, it will change, like the start date for PD for my campus for sure will change. You're not going to be coming back in July and then off for 2 weeks and then starting with students. So it changes contracts for those who are on 220 and 190 contracts to the start dates. So those are all things that we're still working through.
I think next week, the board will need to get to have what we call a business, a work session that won't last very long to do two things, to approve this calendar. And we don't have to do the other steps that you see on here. And then maybe even approve the new chief executive officer or superintendent. So you will be getting a lot of information in the next, by Friday on either one of those.
Or are you saying we're gonna have a special meeting sometime next week?
Sometime next week, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll figure out date. Mary will work with me and we'll let everybody
Right.
know.
Debbie will be sending stuff out for you to approve.
So we'll try to nail that down as soon as we can.
Yes.
So that everybody can get that on the calendar. I know Dr. Riley, Tuesdays and Thursdays are
Right.
better for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's after 5, whenever is fine.
Okay.
Okay.
If it's
Before 6.
earlier in the day, Tuesdays and Thursdays, thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep that in mind. So is there anything else around the calendar that we need to discuss, Mary?
No, and I just want you to know, I've been on the phone with the attorneys of every kind, shape, and form that have to do with education policy. And all the suggestions everybody's made tonight are fabulous. We just have to be patient. There's some meetings Thursday. There'll be meetings with the governor at the end of the week, probably not till next week. Are we going to be allowed to say what happens if teachers get sick? Or what happens if a teacher doesn't want to come back? Or we are aware of all that, those painful decisions. What happens if a teacher takes a leave? Can they get unemployment? There are a lot of questions out there that are close to our heart and soul right now that we can't make a determination until the governor sets out the standards. And we're waiting on the state very patiently. Not really very patiently. We're not really very patient at all. But our hands are cuffed until we hear from the state. But it's okay to get your feedback, but we can't do anything until we hear from the state.
All right. I had talked to Mary a little bit earlier and I expressed some of my concerns, Dr. Riley, exactly what you said. What are we going to do if a teacher is positive? What are we going to do if a student's positive? How do we handle that? Does everybody in the classroom have to quarantine for 14 days? All those questions that I'm sure all the parents have and all the teachers have, everybody has. And hopefully the state will start giving us some direction. At this point, my understanding, they really haven't.
Right.
We've got to be careful in what we set policy-wise around those things in case the state comes back and overrides what we're trying to do. So
we are a state-funded school. You have to remember, we call ourselves an academy. We are a state-funded school.
Right. We have to follow the rules that they set. So we just got to make sure. So Mary told me earlier, I think it was on Thursday, there was going to be a meeting with the lawyers,
the charter people,
with the charter people to discuss some of these things. So what I would suggest to your board members, if there's a question in particular you would like Mary,
yes, please
have them answer. You drop her an email, say, hey, what are we going to do, when a kid tests positive? Any question that you may have, I suggest we go and get it to her so that she can ask those questions. I've already thrown quite a few at her, but
it's okay. I like it. It's all good.
As we can.
It's all good.
All right. All right. Vendor renewals. You want to talk?
I just want this is just real short and simple, but SSC will be our cleaning company again next year. It went up 3% for growth because they are doing all the extra COVID things and raise the cost of living. If board members don't know this, we do outsource our cleaning services to a company called SSC. They also do the big 4 districts and have been good to us this summer and didn't charge us this summer. And we had a contract with them and they very well could have. So that saved us quite a bit of money. We have a new Comfort Systems manages our, we have a contract with them. They come in and change our filters. If there's little mechanical things with the air conditioners and our heating systems, they fix them as part of it without additional cost. or we end up advising us on a new air conditioner. Midwest Risk Management, that's the name of our new insurance company, and we really are loving them. And for the first time, we'll have a insurance if a child falls on the playground, they will be covered. The parents will have money, and the nurses will have the forms in their offices. So we are protecting our teachers. Will also have more insurance at the same cost as last year. I think we're right at the same ballpark price anyway, not too much over if we are over at all. But the teachers will be covered more for liability if somebody does try to blame them for COVID or anything else. The teachers will be protected and not have to, it will not come out of their pocket to defend themselves if necessary in any way. So we want to protect our staff. And yeah, so I just want everybody aware that we outsource food too. It's not on there with Airmark. And before we had Airmark, when I first started here, we were paying $60,000 in the red every year. Since we've had Airmark, we're in the black, as much as we're allowed by the state to be in the black. And we serve more in free and reduced lunch children than we ever have. So we do outsource because we find it's more efficient for a small district to outsource some of those and get better services. So yeah, that's
So
all.
Mary, do we need to put a motion up to approve the renewals?
Well, you actually already have on the Midwest Risk Management. I don't know if you need to on the others. It's just a rolling thing, but I put it on.
I think we probably should, just to be safe.
Okay, that'd be fine.
I think we did Aramark last time.
Yeah, we did
Yes, you
Airmark
did.
last time.
Yeah.
So I will entertain a motion to renew the contracts for SSC for the cleaning services at both campuses, and the admin office, and Comfort Systems as a backup on our HVAC. So I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Got a first, do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. All right, computer science independent study policy.
That's Jake.
That's Jake. He's on there. You can wave to Jake. Jake is a great computer teacher. He wants to offer another class. I believe it's a state class. Is that right? And it's a computer science independent, but you guys have to prove for him to do it. So he's asking.
Yep. All right. Hi, guys. Good evening. My name is Jake Farmer. If you guys don't know me, hi. I teach computer science at the high school, and I'm going in my third year here, and I'm starting to see a growth in the program. So I would like to start offering an independent study course for students that want to continue their computer science education that doesn't necessarily directly involve, well, it directly involves me, but it's more student-led and student-guided. I now currently are starting to have students that are coming out of my program. They have taken pretty much every course that I have to offer at this point in time. And for those that want to continue on that learning path of computer science, this is a no-brainer next step that they can step into, continue exploring the state standards and things that interest them. And they will have me there for guidance without so much structure from me in the classroom.
So how is it a whole semester class, or?
What's that?
Is it a semester class, a year-long class?
Yes. I actually came prepared with the presentation if you guys would like me to go through. Okay. Okay. All right. So I've got this outlined as kind of a model policy. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
it looks good.
Okay, perfect. Everything that's in here, I'm gonna go state requires. I have more in here than what is required by the state. Main premise of it, I just talked about this. Basically, any student that's willing to go forward with CS education, this class will give them that opportunity. And I see a growing need for it. So I'll just kind of breeze over the state requirements. Debbie should have sent out a link to my policy, as well as hopefully what the state requires. So if you guys want to look over that, you're more than welcome to. So the state has outlined this. We have to adopt at minimum, the school board must adopt at minimum, a policy that outlines student eligibility. How do we admit students? How do they document, evaluate, and retain the hours that they earn for the independent study, as well as the kind of credit that needs to be awarded? Is it a flex credit, career focus, local? And then the number of hours per credit, the state has that outlined as half a credit or one semester for 60 hours and one full credit for 120 hours. And this is all done over the course of, for the half credit, one semester, for the one credit, a full year. And then as always, this policy and the implementation of it must be in accordance with all laws. Nobody wants to get sued. Also at the very top, they do denote that students must have some sort of written research plan that is turned in for approval before any work can start in the independent study course. So that approval can be a singular advisor or an advisory board. And then students must have some sort of final deliverable product available for presentation. It doesn't say who it has to be presented to. It just says that there must be something available for presentation at the end. All right, so going into details, I set this out for student eligibility. Students should be at least a junior or a senior with 2 years of computer science experience, so they can come in as a freshman. They can take 2 years of computer science and then be eligible to take an independent study course. And to be eligible for the second independent study course, they must finish the first one. For admittance, now this goes a little bit more in depth. I would personally like to meet with the students that want to enroll in the independent study course before they do in fact enroll, because I want them to understand a couple of things. This is not going to be like a typical course. It's going to be very much student-led, and they will have help from me, but they shouldn't expect me to sit there and hold their hand all throughout the entirety of the course. It's going to be very much student-led. It's going to be very different than what a typical course will look like. So I want them to come into it having a clear understanding of what to expect, as well as that would be a good time to discuss any potential ideas for projects and what they can work on during this time. And then the other two admittance requirements are just so that way they can show that they're committed to it and that they're willing to continue their education. They should show motivation in their previous computer science courses. I'm not saying that a student that passes all of the courses with a C is not going to get into this class. If they come in and they say, Mr. Farmer, I really want to take an independent study, I've got this great idea. Sure, I'll let them take the course. As long as they are interested and motivated to continue with computer science. So in terms of activities and hours, this just rehashes exactly what the state has outlined for the first independent study course. I called it Independent Study 1. They must meet a minimum of 60 independent study hours, and that will net them half a credit. I said this would be in accordance with current district policy. I'm not really sure how we would want to word that. I tried to make it as generic as possible, so that way if we suddenly decided to change it from being a career focus credit to a flex credit, we wouldn't have to come back and re-update this policy. In terms of activities, these are just general suggestions, but these are things that can net them hours. Active research, writing code, analyzing already written code. Say they go they're searching for a certain problem and they go out to maybe GitHub and they find a solution there. They can analyze that and potentially integrate part of it into their solution. documenting their code, what they did, how it works, things like that, and then creating deliverables, working on the final research paper, working on a presentation, things like that. So in terms of documentation, evaluation, retention of hours, for documentation, they just have to have the hours out there. They have to keep track of them. They have to turn those into whoever's teaching computer science, me, whoever the teacher is at that time, so that way they can be signed off on, just like a typical timesheet or a punch card. In terms of evaluation, I put a little bit of a blurb here just to say, you know, sometimes in research you go through times where you don't make a whole lot of progress and then you have a big breakthrough. I'm looking to see consistent progress over time, but I also want to come into this, I want to meet with students on a weekly basis. I want to give them a chance to have that conversation with me every week, at a minimum at least, and talk about what they're currently working on, how that applies to what their end goal is, how's it going to fit into their research plan, and if they have any big overall questions, concerns, or issues. But that doesn't mean that that's the only time that they can come to me for issues. They'll be in the classroom. It'll probably be cross-listed with another class. So I'll be available there for them to ask me questions, but this gives a formal time to sit down and evaluate what's going on week to week. And then in terms of retention, they need to keep an accurate record of hours, and I need to be able to see that at any time, okay? So these are just some additional considerations that I had as well. In terms of deliverables, as they are required to have something to turn in, they need to have a written research plan. This, like I said earlier, has to be presented and signed off on before any work can be done. So it has to be approved, and then the students can start working. And then for the final deliverable, I kind of envisioned a final report or a presentation, something that can be turned in and given professionally. So if it's going to be the final report, it should be, well-typed, professional. I'm not going to stipulate it has to be 20 pages. It can be 5 pages. It can be as long as the student wants to sit there and type. I've taken the time to write a 100-page thesis, and it was my job for 8 hours a day for 3 weeks. It was not fun. And then whoever's advising at that time can also require a final presentation of findings, just kind of like, a final, here's what I did. Overall, this is what my results were. Just a final conclusive presentation that goes alongside the report. I said in terms of advisory committee selection, obviously myself or whoever the computer science teacher is at the time will be the main advisor, and he or she will be responsible for reviewing, monitoring, and improving the student's plan. I would like, because I'm always looking to find ways to put computer science into other subjects, other core courses. If a student would like to do something cross-discipline, obviously myself and the other teacher would have to sign off on the study plan. So it would then become a committee. And then at the end, in terms of use of school resources, I basically said they're free to use all of the resources that they need within reason. As soon as that starts, as soon as they start to abuse those resources, it becomes restricted to only necessary items that they need. Okay. All right. I went through that very quickly. Does anybody have any questions?
Looks
Jake,
like you
this
thought
is-
it out to me. Howard, do you have a question?
Yeah, Jake, this is Howard Ellsworth.
Mhm.
I am 100% bought into this. What I would challenge you with is us being an arts-based school is how do we integrate some form of arts into this, or how can it be used to further the cause of arts?
So my background, whenever I was doing research for my master's degree, was data analysis. So I love taking data, looking at it in all sorts of different ways. And this is one idea that I came to as a project that a student can do. And this would be cross-discipline. Say a student wanted to go into a painting class and take a look at the individual paintings that the students were doing. Take, say, a snapshot of it. Take that image to where it's just the painting itself and do a comparison over the different styles of paintings that the students are doing, the kinds of colors that they're using. Are there trends throughout the class in those colors? Are there trends through the individual students? Say they tend to use the same color in each style of painting, or do they vary it up? We can also take a look at this in a literary sense and do word analysis for maybe some popular works of texts, we'll say, and break those down and do, make computer generated word clouds, maybe analyze some different student work, things like that.
Okay, good deal.
I just have a money question, and I have a very limited understanding of all these things, but I do know from what my own children do that they frequently have to purchase programs and buy licenses to accomplish things. So if a student needs to do that to accomplish their independent study, are we going to pay for that? Or are they going to pay for that?
Well, that's definitely a consideration. I think that since it would be for the course of for a class, we could potentially fund it. We'll have to look into how licensing of certain programs work. It could be a case where we could potentially purchase a license for a program and continue using that as needed. And I've also got some own licenses that I've got for programs I purchased whenever I was in college that I would be willing to also use if needed.
So I guess if something substantial came up, we just have to approve it as a board, essentially. Is that how it would work?
It would be on a case-by-case basis, probably.
I think
Dr. Riley, one thing that's really great is the state has lots of money in computer science because that's the governor's mission. I could get with Jake and see what he needs, and maybe I could write something up for him.
Well, I also think the cost would fall back to the high school working with, with Jake to see, maybe there's special licensing for schools. I know from my experiences, there's a lot of, discounts for students, that type of thing.
Right.
I'm sure it can be worked out. I think that'd be a case.
We could probably fund it. We could probably get some donor funding for this.
Sure, I'm sure we can figure it out. JB Hunt would pay for it, right, Howard?
Well, I think it sounds great.
I do too. I think it's a great idea. I think it's really, moving us forward a little bit in the computer science area. That's great.
Hey, Jake, just two things. Again, the arts, I think, is going to be an important part of this. But if you could, just at a very high level, put together some kind of cost analysis of what you think it would take based on the number of students that would be there, that would probably give us a better feeling of what we need to prepare for.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks. Appreciate that. That was really good. So,
hey, Jake, real quick. So I just want to make a comment. I just want to thank you as a parent for giving the extra effort to bring our students something that's, in my opinion, in my line of work too. Computer industry is going to, and the coding industry is going to continue to grow. So I agree with Howard though too. This is an art school. Let's try to integrate as best we can. But just want to thank you for going above and beyond, in my opinion, to make that available to our students.
Now you guys need to vote on it for them.
All right. I'll make a motion to accept his plan.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the new independent study for computer science, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion passed. Great. Appreciate that, Jake. Thank you. All right. Resolution for the suspension of district policy to align with emergency COVID-19.
Now that came straight from the governor's office.
Right.
We need to approve it. He's just saying there's times we'll have to go away from our own policies to follow their policies to make sure that we have, we'll provide EFMLA for families if they're sick, or, you know, emergency paid sick leave, that we have things that we will go along with what they come up with to protect our teachers when they come up with it.
Great. Yeah, I think that, so we need a vote on that to, because that is a resolution coming down from the governor. So I don't even know we have to vote on it because we're being told to do that. Do we have to vote on that, Mary?
Well, I think I have to sign it, so I wanted to ask you.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and vote to accept a resolution for the suspension of district policy to align with emergency COVID-19 as needed. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
I got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. All right, I want to stop here for a second. And we had talked about the student wearing mask policy. I know it's not on the agenda, but I want to go ahead and talk about that now. Dr. Raleigh brought it up by her points that she has. I believe Springdale School District just passed, if I remember right, I think I saw that earlier today, that they passed a resolution if their kids are going to be required to wear masks. I didn't read the news article, so I don't know exactly what the stipulations are around that. But I think for the safety of the students, for the safety of our teachers and everybody involved, I'm for students wearing masks. I think we would need to decide if that's what we want to do and what age up that we would want that for. So with that, I want to open up discussion to what other people think.
Tony, I agree. I think it's, this situation's unfolding every day before us, and everywhere you go, and more and more places are requiring masks. And schools have a well-deserved reputation as being petri dishes of sorts, where germs and bacteria are just growing and spreading. I agree that it's something we should have in place. I think from the administration standpoint, the disciplinary side of things is something that we'll need to be prepared for, and have appropriate response to students, and that's well thought out. Because we'll have, there are going to be plenty of issues where students, you'd like to think maybe it's inadvertent that they forgot their mask, but I think we'll have others that are where there are cases of defiance and whatnot, where they just don't want to wear the mask. So I just encourage, I'm sure Matt and Heather are already wrapping their brain around that as it is, but that's something we'll just need to be cognizant of.
I think we probably need to just go ahead and maybe we already have done this, but we just need to buy masks. And at the front door, if the kid shows up without the mask, they need to be given the mask.
The principals have already, they got their orders in, and we've had money that will support all that.
Perfect.
The only thing I would like to add is what Dr. Riley mentioned earlier, that there's going to be exceptions. We're going to have children in our SPED population and possibly other needs, that there's going to be exceptions, that we can't make a across the board rule probably that's going to work for everyone, but for the majority.
What I would say about that is if we have a special needs child who is just not capable of complying, then it needs to be part of their IEP.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, if a parent comes in and they know their special needs child is not going to be able to do this, it's going to have to be part of their IEP. And we're going to have to decide, or I guess not we, the principals are going to have to decide how they're going to keep that child and that child's teacher safe.
And did order all the teachers, both the shields and the masks.
Okay.
So, and we also ordered extra for substitutes, or if they've lost them. So, in fact, they're already in. So
okay, that makes me very happy, Mary. Do we have a very good substitute list? Because I've heard a lot of grumbling about I'm not going to substitute.
No, it's a little scary right now, but we have ordered shields and masks for anybody that comes in to work with their children.
I
Okay.
think that's one of the questions that needs to be answered, that Mary needs to get answers for. How do we handle when substitutes aren't available? What about substitutes going from district to district? One district may be having cases come to us. How do we handle all those things? There's just
Well,
so many-
we always have, and sometimes maybe I won't be here, but an administrator will go in. We may have a teachers lose their planning period, but give it back to them in some other fashion later. Or, but one thing beautiful about Arkansas Arts Academy and our principals is when the going gets tough, our staff always gets going. So it's just something we have to take on a day-by-day basis. And our subs also are treated pretty well, and I think they'd rather be in our school than a great big school, and we pay compatibly our subs so that we don't lose subs over money. And yeah, we just have to deal. It's a day-by-day deal, but
hopefully we'll be getting guidance from the state on how to handle all these things. I mean, it's,
yeah, we'll get it.
we've got to get moving forward, and hopefully they'll be helping us.
Yeah.
So Tony, one question, and this goes along the lines of what Jeff just said a second ago. There's going to have to be some kind of policy that's drafted up that says what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then there needs to be consequences or outcomes if people are not following that policy.
Sure.
That's going to have to be well documented.
Yeah, we're working on it. I promise you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so yeah, so what I would say is, do we want to go ahead and vote on a policy, or do we want to wait until maybe next week when we have the emergency board meeting or whatever to vote on that? I just think that we
Well,
need
actually,
to
I think you could wait till the August meeting now, because school doesn't start till August 25th.
my only
Well,
Plenty of
the only
state.
reason that I'm saying we might want to do it sooner is to give the kids a chance to get used to wearing masks.
Okay.
I'm afraid if
Well,
we wait
and
2 weeks before,
yeah. And the other thing is, there's very likely going to be a small subset of parents that are going to get real mad about this.
Okay.
And so they may need to choose to send their children virtually. And, a lot of the districts have already set a deadline for making that choice. Are we setting a
Okay.
deadline for making this choice?
Oh, we can make it tonight if you want. Or we can do it next week when we, next week, I promise you, we're going to have an emergency, or not emergency meeting, but a
special board meeting.
session.
Well, I think we should go ahead and vote on the mask all the time issue.
Okay.
Just so we can get that out to the parents.
Sure.
So Tony,
That's fine.
before we vote, one question. Can we implement a policy that is not dictated by the state as far as the masks are concerned?
That was going to be
Well,
my
we
question.
can't until the state says otherwise.
Right, and I think
Okay.
that's where us accepting that resolution a minute ago, that would override anything that we have to say. If the state
That's
comes
right.
back and says
All right.
we can't
I st-
mandate it, I think that resolution would override that.
Okay, I'm still on the page of, I believe that we need to do masks, but I want to make sure that we're not doing anything against state
Right.
policy.
So any other discussion around a
So
mandate?
I do have a question about the age. And Dr. Riley, I'm not sure what kind of doctor you are, so forgive me.
I'm an old people doctor.
Okay, perfect. I would prefer, because I'm on the same, but I think it's the right thing to do. But if we discuss the age groups of who does and who does not have to have it, I feel like we need to get a medical professional opinion versus just anecdotal evidence or research done by the board or by parents, because it is going to make a lot of people mad. There are health reasons not to wear masks, so I just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence to do the proper research and get I guess positive or proper feedback from a medical professional. So we're getting it right. So if the age is 7,
Yeah.
well, that's fine. But I want to make sure we're not just deciding that here based on our anecdotal research and evidence. So
Well,
that's
the
one thing I
long and
would
short
call
of
out
it
from
is,
that.
we don't have enough evidence, and we probably won't have enough evidence for 6 more months until this pandemic's been going on for a year. What I can tell you is there are preliminary studies, anecdotal, small n equals 20 and 30 and 50 reports coming out of Europe and China that the infection rate in children under 10 is less than 2%. And they can still be carriers. They rarely get sick. They rarely get hospitalized sick. And it does seem there is some very early evidence that they do not transmit it as much as older children over 10. So, but if you're looking for a real, double-blind placebo-controlled trial, that does not exist.
Okay.
We just, we've only been in this situation for 6 months, and so there's going to be data coming out for years and years. And I think when we're talking about kindergartners and first graders, we're going to probably have to be not as hardcore. They're going to have to get reminded more. If they screw up, we're probably not going to send them home right away. But there are plenty of countries, mostly in Asia, where children are taught to wear masks in preschool. So it really is, just a matter of habituation. Just like we get used to wearing shoes and underwear. And so I think Matt, when we're talking about the littles, Matt and his teachers can kind of decide how hardcore they want to be, but there's a level of maturity, at least by 7th grade or 6th grade, I think, where it's not an unreasonable expectation for this, really honestly before that, but
So we're recommending maybe a 10 and under would not be required, or
I want to recommend that it's required for everybody. But I just want to say that, we're going to give Matt and the elementary school teachers, the leeway and the ability to, not be sending kids home the first time they don't wear their mask, just, to continue teaching and working on it. But I think we need to make a black and white policy that every kid's supposed to wear a mask unless it's in their IEP. And that just gives parents an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to start training my kid for the next 5 weeks, or I'm not going to do that. We're going virtual.
Yeah, I agree. Matt and Heather are making judgment calls like that all day for a variety of different reasons. They have the experience of knowing what's age appropriate and whatnot. So I'm comfortable putting that into their hands.
I would like to just say just 2 things. I think a decision tree would be really helpful. I don't know if that's something you guys are doing, but I think that would be most important, honestly, for your staff, so that when you do get those sticky points and those hiccups when kids and or maybe parents are sort of fighting back, that you literally have every single possible scenario laid out, what if then. And so I think that could be helpful, because then everything is in black and white. And my second thing is to go back to Nate's point about, my place of employment. We actually have an infectious disease specialist who's local, who is our consultant person, and it sort of is able to give us not a person to point to, but to say, well, it's not just our leadership who's making the call. We have consulted with our infectious disease specialist, who is our consultant just for this, along with CDC and state guidelines. So I don't know if that's something that's helpful or possible. That's just a thought.
Yeah, I think the only place we're going to find a pediatric infectious disease specialist is at UAMS. I do not know if there is one at the UAMS up here, or if we would have to reach out to Little Rock, because that's a super hard specialty to find. So I don't know if Mary, Matt, and Heather, if you guys want to try to do that, or if you want to, just reach out to a pediatrician, which I can just tell you, amongst the doctors of all sorts that I know, there is a wide range of opinions and behaviors. So, the closest thing that we're going to find to a unified statement is probably the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC, which
And they're working with the state.
Yeah. And still yet there's so much that's gray area right now that I don't know that we're going to have a lot of luck getting a black and white opinion on this. So,
You're
but
right.
if you guys want to try to reach out to somebody at UAMS, I don't know anybody over there, but there are probably some people who do.
Right. I would like to go ahead and I'm open for discussion on this, is go ahead and pass the policy tonight knowing that there may need to be revisions. We may have to, if the state comes back and says we can't do that, we may have to back off on it, of course. But I would like to get moving forward simply because as a parent, I would want to be able to start training my kid. And the more time I have to do it, the better. Even if we back off and say, okay, if you're in 4th grade or below, you don't have to wear it. I'd rather go ahead and say everybody for now, knowing that after discussion is made, we may need to change that. Does that sound like a doable thing?
So Tony, we can't really vote on a policy because we haven't read a policy.
That's
Is this more of we're going to vote that the school is going to make a statement that face masks will be required going into the school year?
Yes, I think that's
okay. I'll get the policy written, and then when we have our business meeting, you can pass it then.
Okay.
We'll pass the policy then, but right now we'll vote and say that we are going to require masks.
Yes,
Policy.
I want everybody to be able to have a chance to start working on it, you know, whether I let my kid do it or not. I just think the more time we give them, the better.
Okay.
Mary, I also believe before we vote on that policy, we probably need to pass it by the ASBA just to get there.
We'll do it. We'll do
Arkansas School Board Association, sorry.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So with that, I will entertain a motion for us to make a statement that we are going to make face mask wearing mandatory for all student and staff at the K at Arkansas Arts Academy.
So made.
With policies to
follow. Yes.
So
and we're going to add visitors to that too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Moved.
And
So moved.
we're gonna, I know that we'll have accommodations for IEPs, but there are other medical reasons, anxiety, all kinds of things that we may have adults, we may have teachers that say, I can't wear a mask. That, you know, that's happening with companies that are going back to work. How are we going to handle that?
Well, that's why I bought the shields. So
yeah.
the
So
shields aren't
Leslie,
quite as-
there are very, very few legitimate medical reasons people can't wear masks. And my response to those kinds of things would be you probably need to not be in the building if that is such a problem for you. Because if you're anxious, it doesn't change your infectability or your transmissibility. And so, you know, what I've told patients who've reached out to me wanting those letters is you need to start working on your issues in small increments, put it on for 5 minutes, you know, 6 minutes tomorrow, go walk around, practice. You know, it's kind of like if we had a student that said, you know, I'm sorry, it makes me too anxious to wear a shirt. Well, we're gonna let them come to school naked? No. So that's.
I'll say, I'll
pass that one.
I'd second that. Our patient population, where at my work, you know, everybody's wearing a mask. There's no option, you know, based on how you feel about wearing them. If you want to come in the building, you have to wear one.
Yeah,
it's an extremely slippery slope, and I don't even think we should start with that.
Yeah,
you know.
All right.
But we have state laws. I mean, we just need to make sure that we don't. I just don't want us to make a rule that we end up having the state come out and say, no, these are the policies.
Well, we've already passed the resolution tonight that if the state comes back and says we can't do that, we have to follow the state rules.
Very good. Thank you. That sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so you had a motion, I second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. Thank you. I know that wasn't easy, but I think it was something we really needed to do. So thank everybody on that one. All right. Donor recognition.
Yes, I have a lady who has given me thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for this school. And she's an elderly lady, and right now there's $50,000 set aside for an organization to raise money, the 10 million we need to fix up the elementary. We just have it on hold until the virus kind of chills a little bit because it's not a good time to raise money right now, but that money is sitting there waiting for that. And all I've done is gone to that lady and say, write me a check, and she has. And I don't think that's enough for us to, anyway, I would like to, Height Jackson took the drawings of the new elementary school when we have the money, and there'll be a commons area where there's a stage and will lead into the new art rooms. And I'd like to put her name as the art wing after her, because she's the only one that's given me that kind of money to make that possible. And like I said, she's an elderly lady and we haven't done anything for her. And I'd like to have that made into a plaque and have her name put on it and us give it to her so that she knows we appreciate her efforts, because I don't think we've done enough to do that.
Is she okay with that kind of recognition?
Yeah, say what again?
Is she okay with that kind of recognition? Don't we
Yes,
need
sir.
to get her approval before we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've kind of heard through the grapevine that we do that.
Okay.
Do we
Well,
have
I
a
say
donor
that-
Sorry,
I'm
I just want
sorry.
to jump in. Do we have a donor recognition policy in place already that
No.
looks at the amount that someone gives and then looks at
No.
what
Do
the
not.
different recognition
No.
might be? Okay, that's my first question. And then my second question is, lately, some places have run into problematic issues where they have given recognition to specific people who, for
Right.
whatever reason, there have been issues. And so I just sort of wonder if that's something you've thought about as well.
Yes,
that can come up.
I've checked it thoroughly and there would be no issues. And
Yeah,
I
it'd be
think-
good
I
if we
just
had
don't-
some sort of character testimony, something like that along with it. I hear
Yes.
exactly what you're saying, Adrian.
yes,
It'd be good if we had an understanding of that, so it's more than just the dollar amount they gave is great, but we also would like
Yes.
to know more about them as a person too.
Yeah.
well, I'd like to give you her name. I just don't think I'd give you a name and then you vote against it. That would be kind of harmful. So, but she owns 7 of the biggest car dealerships in Bentonville, and she has them in she also has car dealerships in Siloam Springs, and she also has car dealerships in Fayetteville. And the only school she's given money to is Arkansas Arts Academy. And when Matt's needed money for carts, she's written checks, and she was raised here, and she's one of the original people in Northwest Arkansas that has seen the growth, and she believes in our mission. And yeah, so I know her character very well, and so does about everybody else. And she's one of the original people that made this town who it is. And I just want to make sure we honor her before it's too late.
I think if it sounds like maybe you're going to be doing a fundraising campaign in the future is what it sounds
Right.
like for the K-6 school. And so
Right.
I think it might just be beneficial then for there to be a donor recognition policy in place,
Yes.
because you will have someone in the future, hopefully, who's going to give you 6 figures. And then what does
Right.
that look like? And so I think just
Right.
understanding the step level, because there are different
Right.
types of recognition. You could do an endowed position. I mean, there's all different things. And so I think it would be
Well,
helpful.
to make you feel better, we do have a
nail that down.
foundation now, and the foundation's working on that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garrett
That-
Small's ahead of that, if you know Garrett.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was gonna suggest too. I completely agree with Adrian. We need a clear path to recognizing people.
Sure. But the only thing is, those drawings wouldn't even have happened. Nothing would have been happened. She's the only one that's believed in the elementary. I have gone and begged for money. And we get all the money for the high school. It just seems like, I don't know. But
That's great. I mean, it's awesome that we have somebody that is so
Right.
passionate about the elementary school and Arts Academy in general. That's outstanding. And I don't think Adrian or myself or Leslie are saying no by any means. It's just, I think it's due diligence to make sure we understand about the person.
right, I agree.
Okay.
So the foundation is writing up a policy. Is that
Yes,
what you're
they
saying,
are.
Mary?
Yes, they are. Mhm.
So at some point, I guess we'll probably get to see that. And
Right.
I
And
think
I'd like
that
to-
your
Yes.
idea sounds very nice.
One time I had a party at my house where our board got to meet the foundation board.
Yep.
And I hope when this COVID thing gets over, we can redo that, since there's been a lot of change on both. So we can
So
see.
we're gonna come to Florida?
Maybe we can do that. Yeah.
Hey, Mary, is her money going through the foundation or is it coming directly to the school?
Well, we've had both.
So she's
So
done.
Money, the $50,000 is with the foundation.
Okay.
It might help if you, it might help if you talk a little bit about the foundation versus the board.
Right. Well, the foundation, by going through the foundation, they can do more for tax because they're also a 501(c)(3), and their major goal is to raise money for the elementary school. That is their top, and they've also helped with some of the athletics, and well, they've helped with anything I've asked for. And Matt, you've asked them for things too. They've been there for whenever we've needed things, and a lot of the people in the foundation have personally, about everybody on their board, when Matt and I have asked for something, they've said, yes, we'll do it. And for Heather, when Heather has her fundraiser with her PTG, they have bought tickets for all the teachers to go. And so anyway, it's relatively a new foundation, but it's really getting to do just the things that Adrian suggested.
Okay, but we don't report to them and they don't report to us.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, I don't think there's anything that we need to vote on at this point, so.
You don't need to vote that I can do that?
But get a plaque, I guess we can vote on it. I don't think it's necessary since it's put out policy, but.
But the plaque says that we will put her name on the top of
Okay,
that.
well then let's go ahead and vote on that. Is everybody comfortable with that, with the research being done to make sure that there's not anything that we need to, not that we're not aware of? Does that sound right from what I heard? Adrian? Jeff?
Her name's not gonna be real big. It's just a small area.
I don't want to, beat a dead horse, but just working in a nonprofit organization, this is such a tricky thing that we've dealt with so many times. And so I'm very, very cautious with this. So I personally would feel more comfortable waiting to see a policy and making sure that that's laid out.
Is there any reason why this needs to be expedited, Mary? Or
Yeah, because I'm leaving and I want to make sure it's done.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm leaving.
Oh,
It's done.
I see.
And she's a quite elderly lady that's had some health issues. And the foundation's behind it. And Matt's behind it. And
So Mary, just to make Adrian feel a little bit more comfortable, have we received any other significant funds?
not like her.
That we
No.
would be put in a position to have to recognize if we do this for her?
No. Not from an individual.
Do you recognize, Walton Family Foundation and
All the
or
time.
different organizations?
All the time.
Okay.
I follow their procedures of what I can do.
And I may have missed this. Is
Very
this
specific.
donated through a nonprofit that she backs, or is this a personal donation?
This is personal. She just does it out of the love for that elementary school. And I went and asked her personally for it. And she looked at me because she's kind of a hardcore lady. She's a business lady. And she's taking a chance on us getting that done. And I just don't want something to happen to her and we didn't honor her. I just think it'd be sad. It's not we're not renaming a school. It's just a hallway that leads into an art area.
Okay. So how about if we make a motion to do this one specific issue, and then with the future understanding that we will,
Perfect.
get a policy from the foundation for future large gifts. Does that
Okay.
sound acceptable?
Yes, ma'am.
Since I'm getting the feeling you want to do this before she dies.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So Kara, I'll just reword that. We'll have to
Yeah.
take their policy and adopt it into our own policy. So
That sounds good. That's why you have the words.
Howard has the words. All right, so I will entertain a motion to go ahead and have a plaque created that will be recognizing this person for her contribution to the foundation, Arkansas Arts Academy Foundation, and the school, and especially the K6 campus.
Okay, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I appreciate it.
I have a
Very
first and
much.
second. Any further discussion? With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passed. All right, we're beginning to wind down. I got a few more things. The next thing is the CEO search. We are down to the final 3 candidates, and we have interviews set up this Thursday with those final 3 candidates. The search committee, for those of you that are new, we have the 3 existing board members before you guys came on board, plus Mary, Aaron, and
Gary Snyder, Dr. Snyder from U of A.
Right. And the other's name, my mind is not working.
Irola.
There you go. So we've got a total of 5, 6, 7 on the committee. We spent this last Thursday night going over several different candidates, moving it down, and we narrowed it down to 3. Our goal is hopefully by the end of the evening on Thursday that we will have it down to our final candidate and be able to make an offer. So hopefully by this time next week, we will be moving forward with the new superintendent as far as making that offer. So that's where we stand.
I think you will be pleasantly surprised and blown away by the candidate pool. We received people from all over the nation that have ran huge art organizations and huge art districts, and it's real flattering to our school.
So we can't really say who they are at this point, but we'll have more information later. So with that, Howard, I know there was a couple of things that you wanted to talk about since the publication of the agenda that you became aware of this past week.
A question about that item before we move on, if you don't mind. Is there a separate, just so for us new folks, is there a separate search committee and interview committee, or is the search committee going to interview and then bring it to the board, and the board will then vote to approve the offer to?
Right. So the search committee, the search committee is the interview committee. The 7 of us will be conducting the interviews this Thursday, along with the search firm will help us direct to make sure we're asking the same questions, et cetera, of each candidate. And then we will, as a search committee, make a recommendation to the board. This is who we're recommending as the new CEO, and then the board will vote on that position.
And I want to add, before we even got the candidates, the search committee interviewed everybody.
Not the search committee, the search
No,
firm.
I meant the search organization.
The people we hired to help us.
Right. They interviewed each candidate twice by 2 different people. Then they got the narrowing down for us. So they also do the Google searches and stuff like that. And they also do the background checks.
It sounds like, so just to make sure, because again, this is
Sure.
new, and Mary, so if you or Tony could clarify, and I think for parents listening, they'll want to know who is making that decision. It's 3 board members.
The guy that's the head of the University of Arkansas Arts Department, and the lady that's the head of the Innovation Education Department of U of A, and myself and Aaron.
How many of those 7 people, I think, total, so you said, correct me if I'm wrong, how many have children at the school of those 7?
Well, Aaron,
can I interject real quick? Because it seems like there's an issue with people having children in the school or not being in the school, and I need to understand what that means.
And I definitely don't have that's a totally separate. What I addressed earlier was just my opinion on a particular issue, but this is a question that I as a parent want to know, and I think other parents will want to know, is what's the background that qualifies the search committee to make this recommendation for us? And so one of the questions that I have as a qualifier is, how many parents, the second question is, did we include any teachers, faculty? It sounds like we've got some community from U of A.
Well, Leslie, when you hire a board member,
Right.
Some charter schools even don't even have a board that's politically voted in. I mean, not politically, voted in by other parents.
Appointed boards.
Like some of them are just appointed, but you got to remember this person will be the leader of everyone. And the leader needs to be picked by specialists about leaders. And because a parent may not necessarily, their perspective may be what's best for their child, but not what's best for the whole district. And a teacher may be looking for what a board member would be doing for their area, and a principal may be what's best for them. And a true leader of a district is multifaceted to really think about what's best for all children and our mission and vision of this organization.
Well, I totally agree with that, Mary. And but I also think that parents can also have the type of background, community members in general can have a specific background that can contribute greatly to that process. It needs to be well-rounded. Of course, we want to have art professionals, but we also want to have parents. We want to have people that truly represent our school and that understand what the role is as superintendent, as a CEO.
Sure, and Kara has children here, and
Yep.
Aaron has children.
I'm on it.
Two people
And Aaron's on it.
And I have grandchildren in the school as well.
Right.
And
right.
Aaron is faculty as well.
So
he's the arts integration faculty.
And so we have one staff person and actually two, Mary and Aaron. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
But it's like we are a pretty sophisticated board, and it's something you can be really proud to be on. I have had the pleasure to be with a very sophisticated board. Look what has happened over the last few years. And it's just like a hospital. You wouldn't have patients necessarily on the board. They might have been a patient, but they look for people of different, like a U of A professor is hoping that our school eventually really gels with them to pull our students into U of A. And the innovation lady, don't we want an innovative leader? So what a perfect person to put on there. So what we did was we picked from people from different aspects. And the 3 board members that were on it happened to be the current board members when we started to do the search. So like you would have been on it if you'd have been a current board member. So that's how the board members were picked.
Okay.
Had already
just so I'm process is, so the search committee will meet with these 3 candidates on Thursday and then bring a recommendation
to the board
in August, or what?
No, right away.
Don't we need to announce that we're having a board meeting? Though doesn't
special session.
24 hours. We have to have 24-hour notice.
Yeah, and see, I'm uncomfortable with that because it's such a huge decision for our school. I think we need to give parents notice so that they can attend a meeting if they want to. So that
the parents won't have a choice in it. And let me understand. Let me tell you what we've done here. We had a $50,000 grant to hire a national firm to look everywhere in the nation that publicized it in over 35 national arts documentations, who also made phone calls to people they think that would have done a good job, and who then got a pool of 27 applicants all over the nation. It's just staggering. And then one person called and interviewed him, another person called and interviewed, a research team looked through all the Google documents, and they've also been looked through for any criminal things or whatever. There's never in a charter school this size has there been such an amazing search for a person. So there's no need for you to be uncomfortable, because like when I got hired, it was just a board And they had a search person that was local, but not a national search, not with the arts component with it. And they decided in one night. So we have come a long, long way. And I can tell you, you are going to be very comfortable with who you see. I am living in a hotel mainly to make sure my mission and vision continue, because I think it's been successful. And I wouldn't be here and not be with my husband, who I dearly miss right now, or the dog, or anybody, if I could. But I'm here to assure you that we're doing everything we can to do the best we can. We'll have some things to be very proud of.
The reason we have to do this as quick as we can is Mary's contract ends the end of July. We need to have a leader in place. We need to be moving.
Especially with COVID.
Now, luckily, we've kind of lucked out and school's been pushed back. So that gives us a little bit of time, but we still need to get things moving, because if we hire somebody from out of state, we've got to get them here. We got to give them time to give notice where they are now, all that. So we really can't wait too much longer. Unfortunately, we're up against a wall as far as time goes. So as far as this meeting next week, I know that I understand what you're saying, but we have to move forward. And unfortunately, we just got to do this. We can't wait any longer. We'll give notice as soon as we can. And hopefully, through Facebook pages, through emails, we'll let people know that we're having that special board meeting. And it'll be at a time, 6:30, probably next Tuesday or Wednesday.
You'll have lots of information sent to you before you vote.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we appreciate the hard work. We look forward to learn more about the candidate you guys feel is best, and we'll go from there.
I think, like Mary said, I really think you're going to be very happy. I was blown away by some of the people that applied. So I think you'll be very pleased. I really do. And I understand your concerns, and I hear that, but I think we're all going to be good. I really do. Yeah. All right. Howard, discussion of items since publication of the agenda. I know there was a couple things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there's actually, I have two questions to start off with. Have we put together any kind of list of capital expenditures that need to occur over this next year?
Yeah, we're good. I
Okay,
used
so
the bond money to fix everything and anything that needed to be done. We're very healthy right now. We have new gates, new fences, new blacktop, new roofs at the elementary, new air conditioners. Not all new air conditioners, but anyone that looked suspicious. So we are in a very healthy situation.
okay, so no surprise. I know there's can be surprises, but there's nothing that'll come up this year.
I hope not.
Okay, and then if we talk to the co-op in Fayetteville or whomever else is going to be doing training, because
Yes.
we're going to need to get training scheduled pretty quickly.
Yeah, you'll have one from APSRC.
Okay, do
And
we
if
know
you
when they're
want-
going to do that?
Yes, they are.
No, do you know when?
No, but I'll get it.
All right. And then there's two things. The APSRC reached out to me last week. They are doing a pretty good job of doing an analysis of our revenue versus expenditures. And coming up next year, or is it next year? Is it 2021, Mary, where the Bank of these Ozark payment starts?
Yes,
And is that 598,000?
yes.
So we have the 590.
That will be paid out of our facility funding.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that
Yeah.
we're cognizant of things that are going to be coming up this
We
year.
also have another 100 students next year if things hold true, and that will be another $700,000, not counting the facility funding and growth money.
And that's hoping that we have all the students that said they were
That have
coming
signed
to
up.
come. Yep.
Yes, sir.
And then we also have the Walton Foundation money that we have to pay back.
Yes, that's being worked on, but that's not very bad.
All right. So for the new school board members, as we get into this school year, the APSRC is going to be working very hard to make sure that we are aligning our expenses with the budget that we are going to confine ourselves to. And we need to be really cognizant about any expenses that come up this year, more so because of COVID-19 and the implications that that may have on our student enrollment.
Are you guys looking at different assumptions based on if things change as far as attendance and virtual and
Yes.
what that might look like?
Yes, and there are some grants and some other things that will have our back on that. So
Do students going virtual have any effect on how much money we get per student?
no,
Okay.
no.
That's the only thing I had, Tony. Will?
I have one thing too.
Go ahead, Mary.
Tony. Well, you go ahead.
All right, as new board members, you will have to get additional training. As existing board members, we have to do 6 hours a year. New board members, I believe it's 9 hours that you have to do, but you've got until December of 21 to complete that. So you've got a year and a half roughly to get your 9 hours of training.
And Debbie will be sending some local things.
Right, so there'll be things like there's regional board meetings where all the school boards get together. That can get you 3 hours of training.
And online training.
There's online training, you know, depending on what's going on with COVID, we may all be doing online, but the local APRSC
Yeah, APS.
gives training also. That's where I've gotten my training. Also in December, there's normally a Arkansas School Board Association convention in Little Rock. You can go there and you can get about 21 hours of training in 3.5 days or 2.5 days.
As they have it.
So I don't know if I had that this year, but it is something I've done in the past. I tend to get 12 to 15 hours of training a year simply because I want to make sure I'm knowledgeable. And I'm going to encourage you guys to take as much as you can, especially your first few years, because there's so much that you need to know about policy, about how we get funding, special ed, all this little stuff that we all need to know. And I'll just encourage you, take as much as you can, but you're going to require to have that 9. Now, what it will be when it comes January, if Howard and I do not have the 6 hours that's required of us, we have until the end of January to complete the training. Then we can, if we don't, we cannot participate on the board. So you guys have a year and a half to get your 9. Howard and I will get our 6, and Dr. Riley will get her 6. So, you know, like I said, so just make sure you stay on top of that. It's real easy.
But we help, we call, we will tell you.
Yeah.
We keep track of it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, some of it's very boring, but it is informative. Okay. And if we do it at the local office here, we tend to get fed also. So free meal.
Yeah, so the only other thing I'll add on to that is it's going to be extremely important for y'all to get through that training as soon as you can, because there's a lot of policy and guidelines around how we as board members are allowed, and probably allowed is not the right word to use, but we have to make sure that we are being impartial and unbiased in anything that we vote on as far as board members are concerned. So I'm going to highly encourage y'all to think about what that means, because your interactions on social media and the way you interact with parents on a day-to-day basis may change.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new board member training they usually do in the fall. Don't know how they're going to be doing that this year, that you can attend, get the majority of those hours in that one training session. So that's something to look at. Mary and then we'll make sure you get that information.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But just be aware that we have to be careful when talking to parents and other board members. Now, you heard me say, Howard, I knew you had something. He just dropped me a note that said, I need to talk about a couple of things tonight. That was it. We don't discuss policy with each other as board members. We can't talk about the school at all. If I run into Jeff somewhere in town, I can say, hi, Jeff, how you doing? How's the kids? But I can't say, what do you think about X, Y, and Z at the school? So just remember that, because if we do that interaction, it's considered a meeting. And we could end up getting in trouble because we didn't have the public involved. Also, one of the recommendations, and you'll hear this, and I'm just telling you this from my experience, when a parent calls, listen, but also say to them, I appreciate you calling, But if you continue on, I may not be able to vote on this matter because I may have preconceived ideas about this issue before it's brought to the board. So just be aware, because you will have parents call and want to gripe about Mr. Young or Miss Wright or whatever. And if it does get to the point when it gets to the board, if you've talked about it or listened to too much, you may have to recuse yourself. So just be aware. Those are some of the simple things, but some of the harder things. So you're going to want to listen to that parent. I know that. So just be aware. Try to come up with a diplomatic way to say, I can't really talk to you. Okay. And you'll learn all this in the new board training.
Yeah, I'm going to make one other comment on that note. You know, it's real hard sometimes to keep your mouth shut on social media, particularly say with our last fiasco. But unfortunately, when you're on the board, when you comment on social media, it can be misconstrued as speaking for the board.
Right.
And so you really got to turn your mouth off on social media now that you're on the board. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
And you'll learn all these things, like I said, in the trainings. I'm just giving you a little bit of heads up, get you a little bit ahead of the game. We try not to communicate with other board members, even via email, simply because that could be construed as a meeting also.
So, and it's discoverable too, if they ever wanted to do a Freedom of Information Act.
Right. Not that we're trying to hide anything. We just don't want to set ourselves up for any trouble. All right. Is there any personnel hiring policy promotion?
No, wait a minute. Remember, I wanted to say something.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Mary.
And actually, there isn't anything left after this.
Okay.
Oh, I just want to say, because this is my last board meeting, my last official board meeting. At my first board meeting, almost 7 years ago, I told everyone to buckle up. You probably understand why I said that now. Last official thoughts are to remind everyone to love one another. And I mean everyone. I kind of borrowed that line from somebody, but we need to remember to understand that the arts are the most honest and powerful way to show and give love. And whether it is a painting, our students breaking bread and culinary, an acoustic guitar song, don't ever underestimate the power of the arts. The arts saves lives. Let's don't let a virus take it away from us. Use this time to drive our art. Use this time to create art and not ugliness. Remember that belief in oneself is justified, that none of us are automatically good at anything. You have to work, 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 even at showing love. And that being different is okay. In fact, it is better than okay. And being true to yourself makes you strong and fearless. Arkansas Arts Academy is special, but it has the chance to be even more special. But the passion needs to be real and authentic and never diminished. Think of how special one sunflower is. I think of, and then think how special a whole field of sunflowers are. Like when you look at the Tour de France going through the sunflower fields, all of a sudden those cyclists become beautiful, and it's the sunflowers around them. Our school is filled full of sunflowers. Creating a dream is not enough. Dreams come true when it starts with a vision, and then a plan, and then an executed plan, and then you have to work hard, and then when the dream comes true, it feels really fine. My dreams, all of my dreams, from when I was a kid and not understood in school, when I was misunderstood for being different, when I was misunderstood for being an artist, when I was just misunderstood even in my own family, even by my mom. My dreams came true here. And I owe this wonderful board everything. I came from Bentonville, and I'm not ashamed to say it. After that, you can get back to the board, I don't care. This board has been the best thing that's ever happened to me, because they believed in me, and we rolled the dice. We rolled the dice when we built that school. That school is up for the biggest award in the nation right now. And that board could have asked all kind of hard questions and said, well, Mary, are you really going to do this? Or Mary, are you going to really do that? Or Mary, where in the heck are you going to find the money? Mary, what the heck are you doing? But they never did that. They always took a chance on me. That's why my dreams were able to come true. But mostly, I owe the students. These students fill my soul. And I'm so thankful for them. Whether they're different, crazy, nuts, I'm right there with them. We've got to get them back in these schools, you guys. We've got to protect them. We have lonely, dark kids out there, and we have kids that are joyful that can give to that darkness, but they need to be together. Let's don't let this virus squash us. We can make plans, but whatever we can do, let's don't, in our systematic ways, forget the arts. So I'm going to end this with I love you. And it's not a cheap love. It's genuine. It's more than a country song. But I'm grateful. That's how I wanted to end my last meeting. So thank you very much.
Well, Mary, I want to thank you for your service. This isn't the last time you're going to be with this board. We're going to have at least one more gathering. But I want to thank you for everything you've done. I know that I'll remember when we interviewed you, and you've heard me say this before. As we would ask you a question, you would reach into your Mary Poppins bag and pull out. You were able to give us examples of what you were going to do and what you had done, and it blew us all away. So you said, we took a chance on you. No, we knew what you could do. And we appreciate that. I do remember you telling me to buckle up, but I also remember me telling you, slow down. But you ignored me and you kept going. And the reason I was telling you to slow down was we weren't used to that volume of change. And you introduced so much change, but you introduced positive change. Sure, we had our bumps, but you really did move us forward. And we are in a place now that we would not be if you hadn't come along. And I hope that the person that comes in and tries to fill your shoes, which is going to be very, very tough to do, I hope they can move us to the next level. But also because of your foundation of what you've done here, I think you're going to make that easier for them. You've got a great staff here. You've hired a wonderful, wonderful staff that I think that can help this new superintendent move us maybe to another level that we need to go to. But that would never be able to happen without you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've been on this board for going on 12 years now. And I've been through a lot. Howard and I have seen the lowest of the lows with this school. And we've also seen the highest of the highs. We're here for the same reason you are here. And that's for the kids. That's the only agenda I have is what is the kids, what's best for the kids. And that's the way it's been for you from the start. And I just want to thank you from me, from all the other retired board members. I know if they were here, they would all be saying something similar to what I'm saying. But we appreciate you. We're thankful and we love you also. And we wish you the best of luck in your retirement, even though I know your retirement will not be much of a retirement. You're doing something constantly. But we thank you. We love you. And we're always here for you. Just remember that. We love you.
And the new board members, don't worry. Most of the meetings only last an hour.
True.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Mary, I just want to say as a parent, thank you so much. I mean, with all the issues we've had in various schools, I think I've told you this before, you and Heather have responded the most, more than any other school, any other administrator ever that I've ever dealt with. And you've always come back to me and been genuinely concerned and caring, and I appreciate all the effort you guys have done. So thank you.
It's going to get better for you, I promise.
All right. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And it looks like we will be having a special board meeting, so be looking at your emails for a special board meeting next week. So with that, I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I've got a first and a second. No, any further discussion? I doubt it on the adjournment. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, motion has. Meeting's over. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
for all the new board members. We appreciate your work. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
Good night.
Bye.